In the final trembling months of 1945, when the Reich was collapsing under fire and hunger, thousands of young German women secretaries, radio operators, nurses, typists, women barely 20, some still with schoolgirl braids, tucked under military caps, found themselves marched into captivity, expecting the nightmare Goebbels had fed them for years. Americans who were monsters, brutes, corrupters of purity. Men who would humiliate, torture, starve, and destroy them without mercy. And as trains rattled across destroyed cities, past skeletal factories and towns burned to ash, the whispers inside the crowded railcars fed that terror. Women clutching rosaries, prayer books, hair ribbons, and photographs of families they feared they would never see again, rehearsing in their minds every propaganda reel they had been shown. Films where Americans were decadent savages, greedy, violent, loud, crude, immoral, obsessed with chaos and cruelty. But when the train doors finally opened on the other side of the Atlantic, the reality hit them like a physical blow. There were no mobs, no whips, no screams, only tired American MPs with calm voices offering water, blankets, and gentle instructions. The air smelling of pine and sun-warmed asphalt instead of death. The sky, a vast American blue, so clean it felt unreal. And in the camps places they had expected to be hellish pits of revenge, they instead saw whitewashed barracks, screened windows, tidy kitchens, gardens, clean latrines, and medical stations where nurses washed their wounds without asking what uniform they had worn, while the first meals served to them, meals they had not tasted in years, left them in stunned silence. Bread soft as clouds, butter melting into it, thick slices of beef, potatoes drowning in gravy, eggs fried in real oil, coffee that smelled like heaven, compared to the bitter substitute they had drunk in Germany. And some women wept quietly at the table, overwhelmed by abundance, after years of rationing. Then the shock deepened when they were allowed to shower alone, unguarded, water hot and steady. Given soap, clean dresses, cotton undergarments, shoes that didn't blister, doctors who treated them with a professionalism they had never expected from barbarians, and guards who said, "Ma'am," instead of slurs, young Americans who joked about baseball and home without a trace of hatred, some even offering chocolate or magazines. Gestures so bewildering that many German women later admitted they lay awake at night, trying to understand how the enemy could be gentler than their own officers had ever been. Soon, they were assigned small jobs, laundry, kitchens, sewing rooms paid real wages they could spend in the camp canteen, where they first tasted Coca-Cola, peanut butter, and Hershey bars, each new flavor attacking the lies of propaganda more aggressively than any weapon. And as months passed, the women watched American families visit the camp fences, children waving shyly, civilians dropping off pies, soap, apples, yarn, and letters of kindness. And the German women, conditioned to expect hatred, felt something more frightening: acceptance. Little by little, their pride melted, their fear softened, their assumptions shattered, until one by one they realized the truth, so devastating it felt like betrayal. America was nothing like Goebbels' films. Its people were not the monsters they had been shown. And the greatest defeat they experienced was not military surrender, but the painful, humbling realization that enemy propaganda had stolen from them the ability to see humanity clearly. And when repatriation finally came, when ships carried them back to a Germany reduced to rubble and hunger, many women left with letters from American families tucked into their pockets, with the taste of chocolate still haunting them, with a quiet understanding that dignity, fairness, and compassion had been offered to them, not because they earned it, but because the Americans believed even their enemy deserved it. And that simple fact, more than the war, changed them forever, leaving them to rebuild their lives, knowing that everything they had been taught to hate had been a lie, and that the world was far bigger, kinder, and more complicated than the propaganda that tried to control their minds.
Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon.